A Mochi moment from Sadie, who writes, I'm not crying, you're crying. This is what I said during my first appointment with my physician at Mochi, because I didn't have to convince him I needed a GLP-1. He understood, and I felt supported, not judged. I came for the weight loss and stayed for the empathy. Thanks, Sadie. I'm Myra Ahmed, founder of Mochi Health. To find your Mochi moment, visit joinmochi.com.
Sadie is a Mochi member compensated for her story.
Time is valuable. That's why Lowe's Blueprint Takeoffs turn blueprints into quotes faster. Bring us your plans, and we'll generate itemized material lists to make quoting easier so you can get back to building. Plus, at the Lowe's Pro Desk, you get access to thousands of building materials not sold in store. And when your order's ready, we'll deliver everything to the job site. Improving is easy at Lowe's.
What is up, Los Angeles, and welcome back to your Rams LAFB show. I am your host, Ryan Anderson, joined again by the great Erin Coscarelli of Believe in Rams. Erin Coscarelli, how we doing?
So good. I put something in our chat. I did not mean to do that.
Oh.
I was Googling. That's weird. Why did that just happen? Do you hear that?
Oh, yeah.
How come that happened?
Always technical difficulties with us. Sounds like a plane's taking off.
There we go. Wow. Yeah, I was Googling stuff that we'll talk about with regards to the Rams coaching staff, all the changes that are happening. One of my favorite coaches, Aubrey Pleasant, that's what I was Googling, no longer a part of the staff. So I'm curious, he was wonderful. People really loved him there. So had some coaching, other head coaching opportunities, and sounds like obviously things did not, he didn't choose them or didn't pan out. So it's always interesting when those things happen, and we'll see.
Yes,
and that's now my mom's calling me.
We were just going out about our business, trying to do everything that we had planned to, and then the Rams drop just a nice note that they have announced their official 2026 coaching staff, and it came with some surprises that we just had to talk about. I mean, they have loved coaching continuity for as long as I can remember. They've tried to achieve that, but there's been so many. The brain drain is evident every single year of the coaching staff. So let's just jump into it. And I think the biggest one, you leaked it already. Aubrey Pleasant won't be back as the defensive backs coach, as the head, the assistant head coach as well. That was his official title. Jimmy Lake is now the pass game coordinator and defensive backs coach. Jimmy Lake has been on and off the staff over the last couple of years. But Aubrey Pleasant moving along, and you and I were kind of hashing this out on our sidebar and just kind of talking it through. What on earth could have possibly happened, because he was such a respected member of this, such a highly ranked member within this coaching staff, taking on the head coaching responsibilities for a couple of preseason games. That's reserved for just a couple of guys. Mike LaFleur did it a couple of times. Aubrey Pleasant, of course, there as well. So, I wonder, was it, and this is all going to be speculation, was it on his side? Did he say, I interviewed for, 5-6 defensive coordinator positions, didn't work out for whatever reason? But also, was this also on the Rams side? And I brought up the example of the special teams coordinator that they cut ties with partway through the season, just because special teams was struggling so much, costing the team games. The analogy there being the defensive back room was the glaring weakness that everybody's pointing towards. did they supply him with the best talent to make sure that they were going to have a quality group back there? There's questions definitely that we could talk about there, but a big departure, a big absence from this list that they released. So any other thoughts on Aubrey Pleasant before we jump to one Jimmy Lake?
Well, yeah, I just want to make sure I didn't miss, because so much is going on.
Yeah.
Cliff Kingsbury is the official assistant head coach.
Yep.
Okay, just making sure. I might have caught that wrong. So he takes Aubrey's place, which is interesting because you and I did a show Super Bowl week when Adam Schefter, I was so interested in going, like, why Cliff is going to be the new offensive coordinator. We kind of assumed he was taking LaFleur's spot. And then that didn't, and Schefter would say he's just joining the coaching staff. So nothing really officially was being, and we were like, this kind of makes sense that he would be the offensive coordinator, even though Shieldhouse was getting a lot of plug.
Yeah.
So now it kind of makes sense they sort of withheld any official titles or labels until more information was to be released. And look, we're doing this show on February 23rd, Monday. We're just getting this information to us now. And we're trying to parse together what makes sense, what doesn't make. I mean, not that it doesn't make any sense, but I guess my biggest curiosity is it simply just because the secondary and the backs didn't rise to the level of expectations for the Rams, and that's why Aubrey is no longer with the staff? Is it an Aubrey decision? Again, like I said, every time I saw Aubrey, and even Coach McVay shared a lot about how much he cared for Aubrey. Do you imagine that these things will be shared with us? Do you think we'll find out as the days progress?
It's hard to say. I mean, it would probably come from the Aubrey Pleasant side of things if there was anything.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been a mutual decision. Like I said, this is all. It could be his camp, coming from him saying, listen, I want to take a break from coaching. I had all these interviews.
Mm-hmm.
That's my goal, is I want to be there. And maybe my position here isn't getting me closer to that goal. It could have been on the Rams side saying, hey, accountability is our number one message. And somebody has to be held accountable. You're in charge of this room. It's time to move on. I'm sorry to say. Maybe, and then maybe somewhere in between where it was like, you know what, we've tried this a couple of times now, and it, let's just cut bait. We need new ideas in the building. Aubrey wants new opportunities for himself. So all that speculation, it's all on the table. Will we find out? I think if anything, Aubrey Pleasant will have an interview at some point. Maybe I'll try to get him on our show and talk about it a little bit. So, these things, if there's anything interesting, usually have a way of leaking out and finding that stuff. But, I think I come down. It's probably the best decision for all parties involved. They're going to be rebuilding this room from the top to the bottom. We talked we just did a salary cap show, moving on from guys like Darius Williams, who's got a big cap hit. They could save some money by cutting him. Heather Witherspoon probably not coming back. Kobe Durant, is he coming back? This is going to be a whole new ball game. And so sometimes it's best just to get a fresh, clean slate for everybody involved.
Yeah. I mean, look, if you just take a look at Aubrey, he was back with the Rams in 2023 as the pass game coordinator, DB's coach in 24. But then he got promoted to assistant head coach, which now is the Cliff Kingsbury role. And according to footballrumors.com, he had interviews to be a defensive coordinator with the Cardinals, the Browns, the Raiders, and the Chargers earlier this winter. Obviously, the teams may have gone or decided to go in different directions. But I always think it's just really interesting to see where guys came from and now where their position is within the team, right? Like Robert Woods is now the new wide receivers coach, because previously that was the helm was held by Nate Shieldhouse, excuse me. And now Kingsbury gets this offense or assistant head coach role. And I'm just so curious, what do all these responsibilities entail, and what is it saying about what we're going to see out of the Rams this season in terms of offensive identity?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it's going to be an evolution. I don't think we know what we're going to see out of this offense with all of this offensive talent. We haven't mentioned Dave Ragone yet, also kind of taking a promotion into what is his role exactly. Returns for his third season as quarterback coach, first as associate coordinator. So all of these guys are going to have influence on it. Obviously, Nate Shieldhouse brings. We've commented a lot on that. What Cliff Kingsbury brings, and just layering all of that on top of it, on top of each other. And then the one we haven't brought up on the offensive side, which was also a bit of a surprise, Rob Calabrese steps into the wide receiver coach role, which has, for as long as I remember, has been Eric Yarber, who is shockingly 62 years old. So I think he's taking a step back. He's still on the coaching staff, but he will be kind of more in a assistant role, I would imagine. And we should caveat, all of these roles have also to do with what these guys are getting paid. So that's tied into it. So sometimes they get an elevated title just so that they can justify paying them what they need to pay them. I'll just throw that out there. So Calabrese had worked as an offensive assistant for 2 seasons, and according to Stu Jackson, has worked most closely with the wide receivers. So just a really, really solid offensive staff here. I think, you think about the positions that are going to be moving the most. Wide receiver is probably one of those positions. Quarterback, we've talked about quarterback. I'm pretty much blue in the face at this point about talking about quarterback. They've set up a very fertile ground for young wide receivers and young quarterbacks to come in to get a lot of attention and a lot of hands-on work with these coaches. So I think if you want to take breadcrumbs from this offensive staff, I would say keep an eye out at quarterback and wide receiver and what they do with those two positions based on these moves in particular. And I'm pointing to the draft. I think they are looking to draft both a quarterback and a wide receiver. We've said enough about the quarterback position. We don't need to go into where or who they're going to take, but I think it's happening. And that number 2 wide receiver position for the future is completely wide open. So those are, Yarbs has done a great job. Surprised he's 62 years old. He's always out there doing, one of the guys with the most energy, one of the friendliest guys, and he's doing push-ups and sit-ups before practice. So the dude is spry, but understand. And then you brought up Robert Woods as well.
And I know. What do you think about that? That's an interesting one, right? Wasn't he just in the news for officially retiring as a Ram? I mean, keep it in the family. Look, I find all of this so good, so juicy. You do not even need to be a football fan. I'm trying to tell you guys at home, you need to be paying attention to the Rams this season because it's so interesting, even if you are a fan of life. To me, there's a lot that could go right and a lot that could go wrong. You got 8 new coaches in the building during one of the most critical years for this Rams franchise. Super Bowl is back. Okay. In LA. And last time we all know what happened, when the Super Bowl was in LA. Stafford very likely could be hanging it up after next season. We're never going to maybe see a Devontae Puka offense again.
Yeah.
And like, it's drama and good and soap opera. And it's like, this is the time to pay attention because you've got so many different unique personalities. Why the decisions are, and by the way, the Rams are ahead of the curve always, every single time. To me, this is interesting. It's like scary. You got a lot of new people, new faces. Being a coach or a player, you got to be a strong personality.
Yeah, a lot of personalities in that room. A lot of opinions are going to be in that room. There's going to be tension. Good tension is what you always want to achieve. The idea of the team of rivals from the great Doris Kearns Goodwin book, bringing in alternate voices. So.
Nobody does selling better than Shopify. Shopify is the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. And the not-so-secret secret, with Shop Pay that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts go abandoned and way more sales going through. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. On the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout that Skims uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period for 3 months at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
The secret is out. With millions of younger-looking customers across the country, Plexiderm is one of the most highly sought-after products on the market. It visibly shrinks under-eye bags and smooths out crow's feet in minutes, and the effects last up to 10 hours. Influencers love it, magazines feature it, and people just can't get enough of it. As a matter of fact, Elle Magazine gave it an Editor's Choice Award as Best Instant Wrinkle Filler for 2025. In as little as 10 minutes, Plexiderm reduces the appearance of fine lines, wrinkles, and those dreaded under-eye bags. So yes, you can look years younger in minutes, and the effects last for hours. No surgery, no gimmicks, just results. The best news, you can try Plexiderm for only $14.95. Plus, get free shipping. Don't wait. Order Plexiderm today. Visit plexiderm.com/special. That's plexiderm.com/special. Paid for by Sheer Science.
Yeah, 100%. And I think his biggest contribution is going to be for the culture of the offense in general. He was such a culture setter when he was brought on. He was one of the guys that really set the tone for what the McVay offense was really great at. And, when Brandon Cooks and Cooper Kupp were all on the team, watching those guys block for each other, watch them work in the run blocking, and then just what they could do, just on the field in general. And then, this guy's been to the Super Bowl, he's been, deep in the playoffs, who's the guy that I think he can help the most that we've talked about several times? Puka Nacua, who has shown flashes of immaturity. He's shown, he has this quote where he was asked about being a leader on this team. And he was like, yeah, I mean, Coach Yarber was asking me all these questions and he wanted me to be the one that answered those questions. He looked to me first. He was kind of shocked that he was being seen as a leader, in just, the third season his third season off of his rookie, after being drafted. So that being said, Cooper Kupp's probably your ideal mentor for a guy like Puka Nacua. Second best out there is going to be Robert Woods. So having him in the building.
Right. I wonder. Ooh. Did you guys hear that? That's interesting. I'm not speculating, but I mean, I wonder if Robert is going to be the mentor for a one Puka moving forward in terms of, keeping an eye on him,
Yeah.
leading the way, being an example, and continuing to drive home the biggest culture additive that the Rams seem to always subscribe by, which is good high character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I understand he's 24 years old. I understand that 24-year-olds make silly decisions all the time. He's about to be the highest paid wide receiver. He potentially could be the face of the league,
Yeah.
in a way
Yeah.
that the Rams really have never had. As good as Stafford is, as good as Cooper Kupp was,
Mhm.
Aaron Donald never really broke
Mhm.
through into that. So the responsibility on him is immense, and
Yeah.
how he handles that, how he
Yeah.
handles just the pure influx of money into his bank account,
Mhm.
how
Mhm.
he handles all these things is going to define
Totally.
his career.
But just because I think this is interesting, since we're gonna maybe go a little bit into Puka and understanding the persona or the mindset of a one Puka. Remember, he had a weird season this year. Like
Hmm.
he had distractions, and without revealing too much, because honestly, it's personal and I don't know the details and feel like it's even fair to me to offer insight, but he had some family issues. He became a dad.
Yeah.
And all the while, whatever that challenge was for him as a 24-year-old young man, and, we made a lot of comments about Tom Brady and Giselle breaking up and like the impact Tom Brady has said that has had on him. Guys, we're still human. When we have to deal with off the court or off the field or off camera stuff, don't think we're like robots and we just go to work and we forget everything. I mean, that means we're like desensitized. Part of the job is compartmentalizing,
Sure.
but it's not lost on me. This year, his, heading into a big contract year, he had maybe potentially one of the more challenging personal years a young man at 24 who becomes a father for the first time has to go through. So maybe that's also part of this, right? And we as media, that's kind of our job, is to tell a story and to come up and have concepts that could be true or they're not true. But I'm always going to give some context into, it might just be this was a harder year for him personally, and we didn't really see it impact his on the field. So
Yeah, 100%. So the last offensive addition is Brian Allen. He used to play offensive line for the Rams, of course, and he is back. He was a consultant last year, now full-time on the staff. Just to touch on Jimmy Lake a bit, been with the Rams now for 2 years. This is a guy that's essentially moving into the DB's coach, pass game coordinator role. Aubrey Pleasant filled. He was defensive coordinator with Raheem Morris for one season, didn't last long. And then before that was with the Rams. But before that, he was the head coach of the Washington Huskies he was essentially fired for some misconduct. I don't understand it fully, so I won't go into it, but tumultuous time up there with the Washington Huskies for Jimmy Lake, but has a great track record as a coach otherwise from that. And then defensive staff, interesting addition. Brian Johnson, if that name sounds familiar, he was the Rams or the Eagles offensive coordinator not that long ago. And he spent a couple years with Cliff Kingsbury with Washington. He was vying for an offensive coordinator role, joins the Rams staff as assistant head coach. Oh no, that was his role. His role here isn't specific, but it is with the defensive staff. I'll find his role while you're talking, but he will be joining the defensive staff. And what's it's very coincidental that not that long ago, just a couple years ago, the Rams brought in Sean Desai, who was the defensive coordinator with the Eagles, and then worked with the offensive staff. So it's sort of like one of those out of the box thinking, bring in a high level thinker for, you know, the opposite side of the ball to lend a different perspective, you know, offensive and defensive. So pretty interesting there.
Pretty good. Yeah, no, it's look, that was one of the things that McVay subscribed to this season, was wanting fresh, interesting, new takes, new perspective. And boy, man, they're going to get it, right? Like, they're getting 24-man staff for the 2026 season, eight of which are new additions. And, you know, what I feel is interesting is the trust you need to have when you're McVay and you're bringing in. I mean, it's almost like, are they bringing in these many coaches just to insulate the next season when potentially guys look? McVay says all the right things at the pressers. He's like, when his guys go to other franchises, he says the thing that I'm assuming is also sincere, which is he's happy for his guys. But at the end of the day, it's more work for him. And he's got to feel like a little bit, hey, you know, you're making my life a little bit more challenging every time a guy gets poached from his staff. It's a compliment. Of course, he's flattered, but it's not lost on us. It's more, he's got to find somebody new. It is part, I mean, look, he was a tight ends coach. He moved up in the ranks. Somebody raised him, and he, you know, went on his merry way and really carved out a completely new generation of NFL plays, offenses, and fans. Myself being one of them, right? I've become so much more interested in the game just because of how the offense in the NFL has evolved, right? I mean, I found the 13 personnel wrench being thrown in one of the most interesting parts of the Rams, because they made it work. Not all the time, but you had to work with what you had. And I'm like, that's cool. I'm interested in that. And obviously I didn't play football. So you're getting somebody who's like interested in the game, but now I'm like, oh, now I want to know how like pieces work and fit. And I'm like, give me more layered reasons why I should be even more fascinated or bought in on the Rams. And it is, at the end of the day, an offensive game. Like, we want the NFL wants to see more touchdowns. They want to see more points. You know, feedback about the Super Bowl was it wasn't a high scoring game, and at points it was boring. But when I had Matt Sims on, he's like, it was a great game if you were really into football. But at the end of the day, we want to expand the viewership. We want to make it more interesting to a wider array of fans, and people want to see more touchdowns. So we could talk about this for hours. I just think how this team is evolving and the why, which we always, you know, which I'm always asking, is this because of times that we might see ahead that McVay is insulating his staff so that if guys are leaving, he's better prepared for it? Does anything I just said make any sense?
Yeah, 100%. I think you make so many good points. And, you know, the thing that keeps ringing in my head is this is Sean McVay's 10th time around the sun with the Rams. I mean, we're doing it again 10 times. This is 10th season, 2026, 2027, or 2017 to 2026. And, you know, think about all of the iterations, all the guys that have come in through this building and gone out, and the amount of offenses, probably about half, if not more, are directly influenced by Sean McVay. And the others in that Shanahan, McVay, so on and so forth tree. So Yeah, I think, team building in the NFL is fascinating because there are so many moving parts. You know, good coaches are good teachers. They have to be.
Mhm.
And you know, the ever evolving landscape of people and players and personalities in this, there's a changing face of who and what a good coach is. You think about a guy like Jesse Minter, who's very soft spoken. Mike McDonald, throw him in there as
Mm.
well. You think of, you know, guys like McVay who are progressive thinkers in terms of their um, how the soft skills of the sport. Whereas, you think about the great coach Bill Belichick, not really, not really a soft skills kind of guy. Kind of more of a door closed kind of boss than a door open kind of boss,
Mm.
which worked.
Yeah.
Obviously, it worked just
He's
fine. But the
Yeah.
evolution of
He's
how
not writing he's not using um stationery and writing notes and saying thank you so much for a wonderful season. Here's your stocking stuffer, right? You don't think maybe now he is. I feel like Bill Belichick has weirdly completely changed as a human.
that is something I cannot unpack right now, but
I
you
can't
know,
either.
yeah, we'll see how that
He did
drama
a couple
unfolds.
of ayahuasca sessions and now it's he's doing a photo shoot at the beach on the water with his mermaid girlfriend. So, hey,
There we
anything's
go.
possible.
Well, and you know, everybody likes to think about Vince Lombardi and think of him as this hard-nosed guy, but there's a great biography about him that paints a very, very different picture of how he handled his players on a day-to-day basis. It isn't like this real football. I can't remember the name of that biography, but anyway, point being is there's these ebbs and flows about taking care of people and taking care of a roster, and what it means to
Mhm.
be a good and effective boss and teacher. And that's, McVay is one of
Mhm.
them, and you can't argue that one of the best in the league. So um just to run it down again, we've got Cliff Kingsbury. He's the assistant head coach. Nate Shieldhouse has moved to the offensive coordinator. Dave Ragone has moved to associate coordinator and QB's coach. Rob Calabrese has moved to wide receivers coach. Robert Woods is on there as assistant wide receivers coach. Brian Allen, assistant offensive line coach. Eric Yarber, official title senior offensive assistant / wide receivers. Then we talked about Jimmy Lake, pass game quarters coordinator and DB's coach. And Brian Johnson's official title is senior offensive assistant, but he's under the defensive staff heading. So those are the main updates that we have not talked about up until now. We've mentioned there's other shows, go find them, talk about all the other coaching hires that they've made, but those are kind of the ones that were announced and official titles given there today. Anything else you want to touch on before getting out of here?
No, I think it's going to be a really fun off season.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Combine is happening, followed shortly thereafter by free agency. Keep an eye out for that Puka Nakua extension. I've got an episode up where we talk about all the team needs and how to meet them with Sosa Cremenges. Go check that out. Really, really fun episode. Hopefully we can get him on the show more often. He's a fan and he knows ball. It's a great combo. And thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Always appreciate you. I cannot express that enough. But like and subscribe, tell your friends. Nothing more we would expect from you at this point. Check us out online, LAFBnetwork.com, for all the written content. She's Erin Coscarelli. You can find her across socials. There I am, RL Anderson, LAFB. On X, that's pretty much all I do for now, but that is expanding as Erin helps me understand I'm a grandpa is all I have to say about that, guys. Until next time, appreciate you guys.
Ramley, thank you so much for hanging out with us and watching the Rams LAFB show. quickly before you go, got to tell you about our friends over at Sleeper. It's the #1 sports app right now, and you've got to download it because it's got so many great features that I want to tell you about. Aside from season-long fantasy, which is the best in the business, they've also got live score trackers, in-game updates, plus the live chat where you can actually communicate with other users right on the app. But perhaps the best feature, at least that I like, is the daily fantasy feature or the live pick'em. Just pick 2 to 8 players across any sport, baseball, basketball, hockey, obviously football and our Rams. You're going to choose a player, just choose more or less. Matthew Stafford, more or less passing yards. Kyron Williams, more or less rushing yards, more or less touchdowns. 2 to 8, you can win real money. So when you go to make your first deposit, make sure you use our promo code RAMSLAFB, and Sleeper's going to give you a match bonus up to $100. So you deposit $100, they're going to give you $100 free. You're now sitting at $200. You put in $10, they're going to match you $10. You're now sitting at $20. But on top of that, right now, Sleeper is offering all new user signups a $20 free entry, no deposit required. Go sign up. You're automatically invested $20 straight from Sleeper. But you can stack that offer with that match bonus offer to add more money. Just make sure you use that promo code RAMS. LAFB. Go check out Sleeper. Download it today. Tell them the guys at the Rams LAFB sent you. And as always, Ramley, thank you so much for making us a part of your day.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.